During the 1940-41 concert season, the Norwegian city of Bergen was celebrating the 175th anniversary of the founding of its orchestra. The highlight of the Bergen Philharmonic's 175th season was to be an appearance by Ernst Glaser, the concertmaster of the Oslo Philharmonic Orchestra and the country's most prominent musician. Anticipation was especially high because Ernst was going to be performing on a valuable Guarneri del Gesù violin that had once been owned by the celebrated 19th century Norwegian virtuoso Ole Bull. The Philharmonic concert began innocently enough with the performance of Haydn's Military Symphony. About 15 minutes into the Haydn, a large group of teenage boys entered the concert hall and occupied the empty seats. Some audience members found it nice that the young people were taking an interest in classical music, even if they did arrive late. Others immediately suspected that the teenagers' motives were much more sinister. The boys were members of the National Youth, Norway's version of the Hitler Youth, who were planning a demonstration if the Jewish concertmaster from Oslo set foot on the stage. The violin concerto was supposed to follow the Haydn Symphony, but Ernst did not appear. The lengthy gap between pieces and the presence of the National Youth created a foreboding silence throughout the audience. Backstage, Nazi officials were telling conductor Harold Haida that Ernst must not be allowed to perform. Haida was instructed to stop the concert. He refused. He did, however, buy himself some time by postponing Ernst's appearance to later in the concert. Haida returned to the stage and announced the change. The orchestra would now play the Flute of Sanssouci, an orchestral suite by German composer Paul Graner that came after the concerto in the printed program. The orchestra played all 4 movements of Graner's suite. Then there was another long pause. Instead of returning to the podium, Haida could be seen pacing back and forth behind the orchestra, looking distraught. The members of the orchestra looked at him and at each other in confusion. Finally, Haida resigned himself to the fact that he would be putting Ernst at too much of a risk if he allowed him to perform. Haida stepped to the front of the stage and announced that he was very sorry, but that due to unforeseen circumstances, the remainder of the concert would have to be canceled. "What the hell?" yelled one of the National Youth from the balcony. "Why doesn't he come?" They had been waiting to protest Ernst throughout half of the Haydn and all of the Graner. They had grown impatient for the protest to begin. "Is it because Glaser is a Jew?" someone else shouted, and then all hell broke loose. The demonstrators started booing and chanting, "Down with the Jews, down with the Jews." In what is surely one of the most heroic moments in the history of music, the music lovers in attendance became enraged and attacked the demonstrators. Fights broke out throughout the concert hall. One member of the audience struck a Nazi hooligan with the handle of her umbrella. A violinist from the orchestra tore off his tuxedo jacket and jumped from the stage to join the bloody fistfight against the Nazi youth. Before things could get too far out of hand, Haida leapt to the podium and quickly instructed the orchestra to strike up the Norwegian national anthem. The entire orchestra rose. As soon as the audience and the National Youth heard the opening chords, their patriotism obliged them to stop whatever they were doing and sing along. Throughout the national anthem, the National Youth were compelled to stand at attention, extending their right arms in the Nazi salute. While the rioters stood motionless, Haida made sure that Ernst and Ole Bull's violin were safely escorted out of the hall.